Friends, good morning everyone. My dear students, on this special class, I am gonna focus on improving our fluency on that special topic. I'm gonna focus on two important conjunctions that they are despite and although. These two conjunctions, how do we use in our day-to-day conversation, and how do we use grammatically correct, that is we have to discuss on this special and important class. So I already said two important conjunctions that I'm gonna cover on this class. That is, first one is despite and the second one is although. So let us see the usage of despite in our sentence. So I'm gonna give 10 examples on the conjunction despite. So number one, despite the rain, they continued the match. I mean, the first of all, we have to try to understand the meaning of despite. Despite is nothing but not being affected by or in spite of. In Kannada language, we can say adru kuda, adagyu, adru kuda, adagyu. So let us read examples. Number one, despite the rain, they continued the match. Even after rain is under continuation, I mean, the rain is falling, it is raining, even though they continued the match. That is the meaning of this particular sentence. Next example, despite being tired, she finished her homework. She already very tired, but even though she finished her homework, that is the meaning. So I think you understand what is the meaning of despite. Despite is nothing but adru kuda, that is in spite of, not being affected. Let's move on to the next example. Despite his illness, he went to work. Actually, he is very ill, but even though he went to work, that is the meaning. Despite the heavy traffic, we reached on time. There is heavy traffic, but even though we reached on time, that is we used despite. Despite her fear, she spoke confidently. Despite the difficulties, they succeeded. They faced a lot of difficulties, but even though they succeeded, that is the meaning. Next example, despite the difficulties, they succeeded. I already said this one. Despite working hard, he failed the exam. Despite working hard, he failed the exam. I mean, he worked very hard, but even after that, he failed the exam. Next example, despite the noise, the baby slept peacefully. There is a lot of noise, but even though the baby slept peacefully, that is the example. Despite the noise, the baby slept peacefully. Next example, despite his wealth, he lives simply. Even though he is very rich, but he lives very simply. Despite his wealth, he lives simply. Next example, despite many warnings, he made the same mistake. Despite many warnings, he made the same mistake. I mean, we already instructed him not to do those mistakes, but even though he made a mistake. So that is how we have to use the word despite in our day-to-day conversation. And next one is although. So what is the meaning of although? That is very, very important. We have to know that. The meaning of although is also the same as the meaning of despite. I mean, both are synonyms. But why I'm going to focus on these two conjunctions? Because we should know the usage grammatically, and also in our spoken English day-to-day conversation, we should know the proper usage of despite and although. I mean, how do we use in our day-to-day conversation, and in sentence structure also, how it comes, that's very important. Now let's have a few examples on the word, on the conjunction although. Although it was raining, they continued the match. I already said, already it is raining, but they continued the match. She went to school although she was sick. She was not feeling well, even though she went to school. Although he is rich, he is not happy. Even though he is very rich, but he is not happy. Although the question was difficult, she answered it correctly. Next example, they enjoyed the picnic although the weather was bad. They enjoyed the picnic even though the weather was not good. Next example, although she tried hard, she couldn't win the prize. Next example, although I called him many times, he didn't respond. I called him many times, but he didn't respond. Next example, although the road was narrow, the bus passed safely. Even though the road is narrow, but the bus passed very safely. He smiled although he was upset. He smiled, he showed a smile even though he was very, very sad. Although the movie was long, it was interesting. The movie was very long, but even though it was very interesting. My dear students, today we have learned two important conjunctions, that is despite and although. These are two conjunctions, and they usually come in the beginning place or they come in the middle place also, because the meaning itself suggests conjunction is nothing but it connects two words or more than two words, two sentences or more than two sentences. So although and despite, their position is usually at the first place or in the middle place also, so don't get confused. So I hope you enjoyed the class. We have to use despite and although in our day-to-day conversations. That is a really great benefit we get. So at the 11th hour, I'm going to tell you that please focus on fluency of English, and consistency you should maintain so that you can become a fluent good speaker. Thank you one and all. Thank you so much.